Hey guys, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Your comments on the OCR decision today?
Well, it's another relief for mortgagees, for people who are paying rent to people with mortgages, for businesses that are trying to keep their cash flow going. Lower interest rates are a dividend for everybody, and while there's many things that influence interest rates, the government's restraint on its own spending means it's taking less and leaving more for everyone else. When the government borrows too much, spends too much, it's effectively competing to borrow, pushing up interest rates on everyone else. So I think the government can take some credit for its restraint that's allowed these lower interest rates. If you look at when we came in, 5.5%, people paying 8% on their mortgage. Now you're back down to 3%, it's nearly halved, and you start to see the prospect of 4% money.
The Reserve Bank's clearly concerned about the forecasting, though, and the global headwinds we're seeing. What do you think the government can do about this?
Well, the Reserve Bank makes its own decisions, but I just make the observation that if there's global headwinds, then cutting rates and letting people get access to cash at a lower interest rate is actually very helpful. This will help, along with all the other cuts we've had from 5.5% all the way down to 5 to 4, now 3. And let's hope the commentators who say they'll cut again before the end of the year are correct.
Well, the Reserve Bank is saying there are suggestions for further cuts, essentially saying if inflation remains under control, that could well be the case. What do you make of that?
Well, it's critical to keep inflation under control. I mean, 7.3% inflation under the previous government really hurt New Zealanders and their farms, their firms, their families. It was all really tough. Inflation's now back below 3%, where we want it to be. Now it's about the interest rate relief, so people actually have some more cash to take on prices that are still high when they go shopping or whatever they're trying to do.
And how much of a difference do you think this OCR cut will make to people?
Well, I mean, you just do simple maths. I mean, a 0.25%. If you've got a $500,000 mortgage, then that's $1,250 a year. That's just over $20 a week from this cut alone. In total, we've had 2.5% cuts again. If you've got a mortgage at $500,000, sorry, then, that's $12,500 a year. That's $50 or $500 a week that people are no longer paying in interest thanks to those interest rate cuts.
And are you aiming to take this as a win for the coalition government, or are you sort of taking the side that the Reserve Bank should be independent and we should stay away from commenting on whose fault it is, I suppose,
well,
the OCR is down?
The Reserve Bank's choices on the OCR are absolutely independent. I believe that strongly, but one of the biggest influences on what they choose is actually the pressure that the government puts on inflation with its own spending and borrowing. Because we have removed that pressure from the economy by being a lot more careful with spending than the previous guys, that means that the Reserve Bank has room to make the choices that we support them making.
What about the concerns about the labour market at the moment?
Well, clearly, there's only one thing that people worry about more than inflation and high prices, and that's not having a job. Unemployment, is about where it was forecast to be 2 years ago, and it's forecast to fall from there. So it's one of the few forecasts of the last few years that seems to be accurate. And I believe that if we stay the course, keep the government spending under control, keep seeing inflation under control, keep seeing interest rates fall, then you see households with more money in their pocket, businesses getting more revenue, that leads to more job creation. Unfortunately, there's lots of people who want this whole thing just to go faster, but there are no shortcuts. You have the inflation, you have the interest rates, you have the unemployment, and then one by one, all of those conditions improve, and that's the cycle. It would have been better if we hadn't had such an overheated government blowout during COVID, which I think people now accept they did too much, but now we're recovering from that.
And you've previously sort of suggested that there is room for further cuts in terms of wasteful spending. Is that something that you're still in support of, going further on this?
Yeah, 100%. Look, the simple fact is Labor left 47,000 public servants in 2017. Then, after 6 years, there were 63,000. Our government came in, there's still 63,000. So I believe that there's still too many people and we're not necessarily delivering better services than in 2017 when there were 47,000 people. I believe that there's still too much borrowing and too much expenditure. So I would go further, but I just make the point. This government is not saving money as aggressively as the ACT Party would, but I can point to examples of where it's saving more money than it would without the ACT Party.
You'd say you'd go further. How much further would you go?
Well, our alternative budgets that came out, now a couple of years ago, but they gave you an indication. They showed expenditure reductions in the order of $7 to $8 billion each year. It sounds like a lot of money when you consider that the government's currently spending $142 billion. What we're really talking about is about a 5% reduction, and I still think that's necessary.
You've been quite outspoken in terms of your views with regards to the COVID inquiry and how Labor members should show up. Winston Peters has written to the inquiry saying that he will show up. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the inquiry time frame doesn't include the time that he was in government. So I guess he could do that as a private citizen, but we all could. I think the point he's trying to make, and I support the point, that anyone else is prepared to show up. Surely the people who made these decisions, which dramatically affected people's lives, and that we're literally still paying for in debt, if you made those decisions, shouldn't you be prepared to appear before the record? And having an open public discussion has got to be better than being told months later that questions were asked and questions were answered, but you'll never really know which ones. All right. Thank you very much, team.